Hey, it's your boy Rodney. Welcome to the Penn Global News Show. I'm CEO of Penn Community and Playbook Investors Network, and I am Rodney Woods, and I got my partner in crime, Mr. Antonio Davis.
We got to be careful. We can't say in crime, man. Although I do it all
Oh,
with you, Rod. I
did I
will say
say,
that.
did I
I'll
say
go,
crime? Did
I'll
I
go
say
to the end of the spectrum with my guy.
Yeah. Say partner in success. Your partner in
My
success.
partner of success. Right.
Hey man, listen. Before we introduce our guests, it's October 9th, 2024. We know there's a lot of things going around in the world today. We got hurricanes going on in Florida and Georgia. So definitely wishing, everybody their safety, not losing any lives, that kind of stuff. We're always praying for our family, our friends, and our loved ones. They don't even like us. We still praying for you.
For sure. For sure.
Right. But man, I tell you, this journey here is something else, man. We're trying to make it happen. We're trying to educate people on the access to capital, understanding contracts, understanding taxation, all those things. And that's why, boy, we got a special guest in the house tonight, AD.
Man, they don't want to miss this one. I'm telling you, Rod. And before we go any further, I always like to thank our partners. T-Mac, obviously, Sonia, thank you so much for all that you do. It doesn't go unnoticed. Dane and others, we just want to make sure this is a team thing, man. We're gonna do it together. We're gonna do it the right way. You know what I'm saying? So without further ado, prior to starting his own practice, Rick was a senior auditor with KPMG and was responsible for ensuring the quality and technical accuracy of audit engagements performed for public and private companies and not-for-profit organizations. He has over 15 years of public accounting experience, including extensive work in providing merger and acquisition assistance, such as due diligence and accounting systems integrations with an emphasis on energy, real estate, construction, manufacturing, distribution, telecommunications, in the technology industry. This is a bad boy. I'm telling y'all.
Hey,
well versed in the SEC and rules regulations. I can go on and on and on. But without further ado, my man Rick, welcome to the show, my brother.
Welcome, Rick.
Thank you, AD, and thank you, Rodney. And AD, that long list of accolades, that just means I'm old. Doesn't mean I'm a bad boy. I've just been around so long. I've touched a lot of stuff.
Hey, Rick, man, listen, I know how bad you are. I've been knowing you over about 25 now, almost 25 years. So I want to tell you.
25, 30 years. Yeah.
Man.
Tonight, man, AD and Rick, it's time to talk about it, man. Understand the tax process and to stay ahead of the IRS. I'm going to put S, emphasis. IRS. Don't be scared, y'all.
Don't be scared.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
We all have our fear factors, right? We got our fear factors of the IRS, and we don't have to be afraid if we get it right.
Get it right, but hire the right professionals and make them a team member in your business. They have to be on the team.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. As they say, preach, Rick, preach.
I didn't bring my Bible out tonight, but I can go dust it off.
No, man, listen, Rick, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you because I have known you over 25 years. Just for the viewing public, and the listening audience, you also was my first CPA. I didn't have a clue, and I'll be the first one to throw myself under the bus. I didn't have a clue about finance. I just knew I wanted to have a business, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I went through, the sports thing to law enforcement, the bureau stuff, just trying to be that guy. But when I got bit by that entrepreneur bug, I wanted to be that person, but didn't understand nothing about finance. And Rick, you helped me through some times when I'm like, man, I got to do what? And then I got to pay what? And then I get a tax bill at the end messing with the fellas. I won't call their name, Emmett Smith, Michael Irvin, Deion Sanders, blah, blah. Did I call their names, man?
Oh, I heard a few names. Yeah, I heard some names.
But I got hit with a tax bill at the end of doing a lot of work when I became an entrepreneur. And, Toyota's one of our biggest clients. Shouts out to Toyota and Volkswagen and Microsoft. But I got hit with a bill. They're like, man, listen, Rodney, we know that you entertain people, and I tried to write this off because I came to you with it, but I got hit with a $37,000 tax bill
Mhm.
for Schedule C.
Right.
I had to
Yeah.
produce the receipts for my meetings and my dinners and my flying and my traveling and my hotel lodge. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, what? Hey, fellas, hey, y'all got to help me with this tax bill. No, Rodney, hey.
Hey,
Well,
easy, big fella,
they got Fat Albert on me real good. Hey, Rod, you should took care of that.
Yeah, it's your responsibility. Yeah.
But Rick, man, to enlighten us and to tell the listening audience and the viewing public, man, this tax game is no joke. But if you can get ahead of it, and you can get ahead of IRS, if in fact they bring in people like yourself, Rick, and companies like your company, could help them understand their taxation. So without going into a whole lot of stuff, AD, it's time to dive into this tax thing, right? So,
well, listen,
y'all ready for this? Huh?
Listen, I have my own issues, right? And I think as an entrepreneur, you have to think about a few things. And taxes is one of those things that if you don't prepare in the end, it's going to come back and bite you.
Oh, my God.
Prepare in the beginning is going to bite you in the end.
Yeah.
And like I said, everybody, please get out pen and paper, do what you have to do. If you have some questions, make sure you throw your questions out there, because we do have someone here that can answer, all of your tax questions. So come on, Rod, let's kick
All
this.
right, let's do this. So, Rick, we don't want to do the rapid fire thing, and we know we only got a short amount of time to educate the public on taxation and how to not run from the IRS and meet it head on and actually win. Let's have some wins. So, Rick, what inspired you basically, to specialize in tax law or financial?
Actually, Rodney, I always had a thing for numbers and mathematics.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest blessings in my life, I had a very present father who pointed me in the right direction. I was going to be an engineer, Rodney. I was an engineer. Yeah. And my dad was like, "You're not an engineer. You're a businessman. You need to understand." Because my dad, you know how your kids think.
Yeah.
My dad knew how I processed the information. He pointed me into finance and accounting, and it just worked from there. So
wow.
I garnered a lot of information, obviously going to college at Louisiana State, go Tigers.
What school was that? We ain't heard of school.
Louisiana State, Harvard of the South. Okay.
The Harvard of the South. I love it.
Is that some acronyms like that LSU team?
Yeah. LSU. Yeah. But what happened, Rodney, I was able to get, obviously you garner information in college. And then I worked at a very large accounting firm, one of the largest accounting firms in the world. And what happened, Rodney, I realized there's a lot of information in the way of business, in the way of commerce. It's not present, or it's not always available in our community. So one of the things that always was a catalyst for me was access the information, learn it, and then bring it back to my community, our community. Okay.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Which is big.
Yeah. Knowledge is everything. It's being able to share that information, and so many times, Rodney, the information brings about a solution for a small, mid-sized business owner. It takes the stress off of them. They can sleep at night. You can literally see you're bringing peace to a situation, and that was always very interesting to me.
So it's like you being a financial engineer. It's the same thing, bro.
It's the same, same concept. You're bringing about a solution. You're solving a problem.
Right. There you go. And I know, for businesses, things are constantly changing. But Rick, can you give us a little bit of an overview of some of the bigger changes that are going on in the landscape of small businesses as it pertains to tax?
Okay. So in the last few years, the IRS has made some interesting entrees for business owners with delinquent taxes. If you're under a certain threshold, The IRS has made some. If your balance owed is under a certain threshold, excuse me, the IRS has made certain entrees and overtures to business owners to get into a payment plan, get the payment plan on file and on record, and it'll allow you to do your normal transactions. You can get your passports now. You can finance and transact in real estate, because a lot of times if you don't pay these balances, guys, they'll show up in the form of a lien or a levy, and then you'll have that on your personal property. You'll have that on your homes. You can't sell your home. You can't sell real estate. So the IRS recognized that they have to kind of meet the taxpayers halfway, and they've created some opportunities. But what I found, guys, you still have a lot of individuals who are afraid, or maybe don't always have the knowledge to engage with the IRS. And that's where people like myself and many others, obviously, and more talented people than I am.
Hey, homage, I hear you, brother. Go
well, right. Little humility goes a long way. Huh? You have a lot of.
I know. Listen, we already said we know how bad you are. So we've been with
you.
But in reality, there are a lot of talented tax professionals, and it's critical. Put those individuals on your team, in your business. Meet with your tax professionals at least twice a year, guys. Once before you file, once after you file. You have to communicate what is actually going on in your business, and you can begin to mitigate a lot of these tax problems. But you have to be deliberate in your communications with your accountants.
I love it.
So Rick, I hear that you say you got to meet with them like twice, before and after. So what should be done? So anything be done like on a monthly or quarterly basis with your tax profession?
Yeah. So Rodney, I would tell any business owner, your first step is the bookkeeper. It's there are great softwares out there, QuickBooks. There's I believe Zero Accounting. I think it's based out of New Zealand or Australia. But find a quality individual and make that bookkeeper a critical component of your business. That allows you to document your activities, document your revenues, document your expenditures, and it gives you a clear snapshot monthly where you stand. Okay. Also, you need to budget with that accountant. We all have these great plans when we start a business, but you need to look at, hey, January, I thought I was going to be doing this. I'm only here. February, I still haven't caught up. You have to have this type of dialogue and interchange with your accountant, and it starts with the bookkeeping. So the short answer is it begins, Rodney, with bookkeeping, monthly bookkeeping.
Man,
so I mean, would you highly recommend that most and Rick, we're very honest, very transparent on PN Global News. Most small businesses don't have the liquidity to even hire a bookkeeper, right? They just don't. We've seen it so many times, over and over and over again. And it's the CEO, and I raised my hand like when I started. You're doing it all. You're doing the finance, you're the bookkeeping, you're paying the bills. You actually co-mingling with your own account to pay certain things, all personal.
Right, which we shouldn't be doing, but it happens.
Right. But and we got to hear that from people like yourself, right? And why should we not be co-mingling?
Yeah, so one of the reasons why you shouldn't co-mingle is because if you're ever faced with a lawsuit or some type of action against your business, in theory, you would have formed an LLC or you would have incorporated, and then you have that protection against lawsuits. But if you're mixing your personal capital and your personal money into that business, you pierce the corporate veil, and it allows a threat, a financial threat, a lawsuit potentially into your personal assets now. Okay. So as much as people will say bookkeeping is expensive, an accountant is expensive,
right?
Try getting into trouble or having an issue and you don't have the right accountant or you don't have the right CPA. You're going to find out it's more expensive at that point.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean for sure. And I know, you got some questions too, but
No, I was just going to talk about that timeline. I know
yeah,
here we are in October, and I had to call Rick because I filed an extension, and I was like, "What the heck am I doing?" Right? But Rick, can you talk about just hey at the beginning of the year that preparation, and then are there specific dates as small owners that we should be having things prepared or any of that kind of? Can you give us a short overview of that?
Okay. I'm going to sound like a broken record. Please budget for the year. Right after Christmas, you sit down with your team, you start budgeting for the next year. So we're coming into 2025, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to know that's the first step. You take that budget, then you sit down with your bookkeeper, you sit down with your CPA or advisor, and you begin to walk through every quarter what you foresee in your business, any planned expenditures, any new revenue you're going to come into. Just those communications, a lot of time, they can guide someone like me or another professional on many of the tax loopholes and a lot of the tax mitigation strategies to defer taxes. Okay. So one of the things you want to understand, if you ever meet a CPA and he tells you, oh, you'll never have to pay taxes, please run. Okay. Just run. All right.
don't walk but run.
Run. Yeah. Because eventually there's going to be a problem.
Right,
What you want to do is plan how you pay your taxes, when you pay your taxes based upon your business activity. So AD, it's probably a quarterly event. You want to look at your budget and just go over some things with your accountant. Obviously we all know the April 15th filing deadline. A lot of small businesses, you're going to have, the Schedule C,
Right.
which flows through to your personal. But if you're incorporated, you're looking at, different filing periods throughout the year and different extension periods. So I don't focus so much on the filing date. I focus on those meetings, those planning meetings. Okay. The filing dates, they're going to come. That's a given. It's your ability to plan and budget and communicate with your financial professional. This is how you mitigate problems in the future.
Nice.
Wow.
Appreciate
it. Man, it's a lot. And I know, Rick, we're trying to get this all in 1 hour, to give the listening, audience and the viewing public, everything about taxes. There will be a phase 2 and a phase 3 to this, because it's a lot. It's a lot to understand. It's a lot to take in one setting, right? So, how can, small businesses basically take advantage of deductions and credit, to minimize their tax burdens, right?
Right.
How can they do that?
So, Rodney, there's an interesting process I sometimes take entrepreneurs through. If we're able to sit down and you explain your business to me, and we're able to budget, I can look at your personal expenditures. A lot of times your personal expenditures are actually true business expenditures.
Correct.
And we can allocate them for the business. And that's an immediate tax mitigation. But that doesn't occur unless you sit down and be deliberate and communicate with your tax advisor. So one of the things I definitely want to communicate, because I think I've said it 10 times now, please sit down twice a year, include your tax advisor in your business. It will pay for itself. Absolutely.
Man, that's great.
Yeah. So one thing you want to do, Rodney, sum that up. You want to convert some of your personal expenditures into business expenditures. The second thing is planning. You have things like you have vacations, you have your own personal vehicles. You have the ability within certain, within certain limits and parameters. You might take your family on a vacation, but part of that vacation, you may be in a training course for if it's a logistics business.
Right.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
That comes from planning, though. That's why I'm always going to say planning. I know a very successful entrepreneur in California, and he plans his entire life around his business so he can leverage both and maximize everything he needs for his family and his business. Right. And he cuts his taxes. Okay. And it's just being deliberate about planning and taking time and looking at your personal and business activities. There's a load of deductions right there.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Rick, can you give us just some basic kind of, Rodney even mentioned it, like, hey, I got this big tax bill, and then they were asking me about receipts and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. I've been audited, and they've asked me for financials, and they've asked me for all this different stuff. What is kind of I guess a tip you can give small businesses about prep documents, or how do I prepare to come have that conversation with my tax person? Like, I know they're going to ask me for all this documentation, but
Sure.
how do I prepare and have that ready for them?
All right. So a couple things I found useful. Nowadays, your big banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, you can download your activity, I think, into Excel. A lot of okay.
Yeah, you
Yep.
can. Yeah.
Bring your previous year's tax return.
Okay.
Bring your bank statements. Okay. Personal and business.
Mhm.
Download that information into Excel. It a lot of times it becomes categorized, and this makes like my life easier. I can better advise you. Don't worry so much about the specific receipts, because most of the time now, I think, guys, we spend so much money on debit cards and credit cards.
Mhm.
We're not always going to have the receipts, but keep track of your business spending. It's in a perfect world, you're going to have a credit card strictly for business spending, for example.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
may have a bank account strictly for your meals and entertainment and travel. Just that level of basic data to an experienced accountant, they can begin to create loads of value for you. Okay. And prepare you against any contention or any questions from the IRS.
Nice.
You know, I tell you, Rick, and I'm curious about this. You know, like how many of our small businesses or medium sized, and I always look at, and AD, we talk about this quite a bit. I always look at class one business that's $0 to $1 million, right? And the class
Mhm.
two business is $1 million to $10 million, and then the class three is 10 million to 50 million. Class four is 50 million and above. But how many of us really understand the process or understand, our taxes, and, and not being afraid to say we don't understand, right? In all four classes. And we've met them all, right? We've met them all. And then, some companies never even filed taxes before,
Right.
and that's the main reason why we can't walk into banks or any other investing public to get money now, because we hadn't filed our taxes.
Yeah. Rodney,
So
it's critical. We have to place an importance on the accounting and finance role. You may have the greatest, you may have invented the greatest widget, the greatest mouse trap ever. If your books and records are not solid, nobody's going to take you serious for financing. You look half done. You got to have the entire team. You got to have the entire picture. People have to feel confident when they advance you capital, loan you money, or invest with you. Excuse me. You have your books and records tight. It's just a fact. My main business where I raise capital for companies, you cannot raise money unless you have these things documented. Yeah.
yep. And I'll go on record to even say this, Rick, because I do know you personally, and I know you for over 25 plus. I know that you raise money, and I know that you've always expressed that, with anybody
Mhm.
trying to raise money, because, we're in the game to educate people first
Right.
on how to gain access to capital. That's what PN community really is, to educate you on how to gain access to capital or contracts. It's only those two things, capital and
Mhm.
contract. And you got to understand where the money goes for the people or the equipment. But at the end of the day, I personally know, Rick, that you've raised by yourself over $100 million.
Right. For different clients and some of my
Right.
projects. That's correct.
Right.
Yes.
Now, I did say not $100, everybody, over $100 million, right?
Right.
So I want the public to understand, this is real. What we're speaking about tonight, this is the real thing. It's probably one of the most critical things to our businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
I,
Rodney, I mean, you have to have books and records. You have to have a budget. You have to have your financial statements. Your investors and financiers need to know you're not going to get caught by surprise by the IRS down the road.
Right.
I've seen situations where I've had investors put money into a deal and then the client had back taxes. Okay. Enough due diligence wasn't done. And it becomes a very embarrassing and difficult situation to work through once you let it get to that point. That's why, again, planning. Yeah.
Listen, AD, we got a little story. We won't say who it is, but AD, we went to a specific state to meet with an investor group, and they were giving this guy $2 million, $3 million, something like that, right? And when we got in the meeting, they said, "Hey, such and such, what are you gonna do about this lien that you got on your company right now?"
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like we was like, we looking around at, God bless his soul. You know, he's gone on to home, you know, to Jesse, Mike Ray, you know, bless his
Mhm.
soul. We miss him. But we looked around at Jesse like, you were the finance guy, you do it all due diligence.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't know this dude had a lien against his company. They like, well, what are you
man,
gonna do with this before we give you this money?
Yeah.
man,
No, it can be a very embarrassing situation. Yes. Yeah.
that's a cold piece right there, right?
Yeah, right.
That is a cold
Oh
piece.
man, we've experienced a lot of stuff, man. But Rick, I mean, the taxation is real, and it's every day.
Mhm.
It's real, you know, and we should take it very, very serious because even the banks are telling us, like, hey, we don't really want to give any company, you know, any money if they haven't done their taxes,
Yeah.
or you know, and I'm not gonna get into this tonight on the insurance policy, like key person insurance policy. That's for another segment, but if you don't have that done, or at least did some filings where it's, you know, late or whatever, you know, extensions, like
Mhm.
Aiden said, at least if you do that, you still got a leg to stand on, you
That's
know.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question. So, like you said, we shouldn't worry about the deadlines or whatever, but they are deadlines,
They
right?
are deadlines. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not like you can just say, "Oh, who cares?" Can you
Right.
talk about some of the consequences of maybe not meeting that? It's not the end of the world if you don't meet the deadline. You still got to get them filed as soon as possible. Is that the way I should think about it?
Yeah, AD, at the end of the day, you still have to file the taxes. You know, I have clients right now who haven't filed in 3 or 4 years, okay? And they're rolling up interest and penalties. So
Mm,
there's your consequence about your deadlines, all right?
right.
So the deadlines are important. The deadlines are how you're measured and how you are measured for compliance with the government, okay?
Hmm.
The reality is, if you miss them and you owe taxes, well, then the fees, interest, penalties, they begin to skyrocket. Okay. Then you have to pay somebody like me to go negotiate with the IRS to try to bring the balance down to a manageable number. So that's part of the consequence. You always end up paying more if you don't pay attention to this in the beginning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You pay more. So a lot of times people will balk about, you know, the fees of a CPA or a tax attorney. Again, you pay now or you pay more later
Yeah.
if you don't take care of these things. So yeah, and AD, the consequences are fees, interest, penalties, and probably sometimes in depth negotiation with the IRS, which can cost 5, 10, $15,000, depending upon the complexity. On top of what you already owe the
Yeah.
IRS.
Yeah.
This is why it's imperative. Hey, let's not even go there. Let's plan this out for the next 2, 3 years for your
Mm-hmm.
business. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Rick, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see that we're making as small businesses when it comes to tax prep? Is it the fact that we're not sitting down? We don't have documents. What would you, other than hey, sitting down and talking?
Mhm.
uh, What are some of the other things that you may suggest? I know for myself, and I asked this question because for me, the financials were more than just you know, prep so that I know, but I kind of had to know that to run my business, right?
Sure.
As each quarter, I knew at different times I was going to need expenses from one category to go in this category. I wasn't going to need as big of a budget from this to that. So when my accountant wasn't giving me my financials on a monthly basis, and I had to cut their head off, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That was my biggest thing is I couldn't run my business. So even if I sat down with someone, right? Because there's a difference between a tax person and an accountant, right? Or are they both the same?
No, they're different. They're different levels of competency. Absolutely.
Right. So for example, my accountant person was, like you said, bookkeeping. We made sure that everything went in the right categories so that I can make decisions, right, based on my business. And then if my financials aren't together, when I get to my tax person to have that conversation and they're not together, and I'm just downloading bank statements, that can cost me money, right? Because now you got to go through and sort through. Right. So I guess that was my question, was like, hey, you know, we talk about, you know, preparing for the tax person, but it's really jumping on your accountant and checking your accounting team and yourself to make sure that they're prepared, so the tax person isn't, you know, billing up a bunch of hours to go through stuff that you could have easily handed them in a different form. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely correct, AD. And a lot of times you raise this is an interesting question, and it happens a lot. A lot of times you'll start with a bookkeeper. What you really may need is a fractional CFO. Okay. So you may pay your bookkeeper $200-300 a month. You might pay, I'll just use me for example. You might pay me $750 to $1,000 a month, but that covers all your taxes, your tax planning, because monthly I'm on top of your bookkeeper watching everything. So one of the things, you know, Rodney, and I suggest this for Penn, as you reach out and touch some of these businesses and these enterprises, they need to consider fractional CFO service. Rodney, it may be $500 a month and you're paying the bookkeeper $250-300.
Correct.
But that gives the business owner a better opportunity to be on top of their financial activity. You're getting FaceTime with a competent professional that can help you with the tax planning. And, you know, you look up at the end of the year and maybe you spent $10,000-15,000 on accounting, maybe 20, but with proper planning, that amount probably gets taken off of what you eventually owe the IRS anyway. So again, it always comes down to pay now or pay more later. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a good segue, AD, because we talk about this all the time. And we said the one thing that we really want to champion and stay on top of is the finance. It's the taxes for all businesses. But we've looked into the fractional CFO for any business that's going to come in and join, you know, the Penn community, right? We want you to have a fractional CFO.
Yes. Yeah.
That way it can minimize your missteps and having to pay a lot of money to our IRS, or even just getting sued, losing your business and everything. There's a lot of variables, a lot of factors, or even getting the money from the banks on the debt side of things, or some private equity VC or family office looking at to deploy you money, but you got all this other bad stuff over here you got to clean up before you even take the money.
Yeah, that's correct, Rodney.
Yeah, so
Rodney, I've not to cut you off, but this is important. I like where you're going, Rodney. A lot of times when I've raised money, it's because I went in with a team. It wasn't always the best idea.
Right.
Okay. I've seen some terrible ideas raise a lot of money. A lot of times it's the presentation and your team. And again, this is one of the things I always want to hammer home for our community. Get the right team, right accountant, right lawyer, right tax attorney. Obviously, AD, Rodney, y'all know Magic Johnson. He talked about that a lot when he began in business. Go get an A+ lawyer, go get an all-star caliber CPA, and go to war, so to speak, with your business in that fashion. Get the right people around you. You'll be surprised how easy business gets a lot easier when you got the right people.
And
Yeah.
if you're not Magic Johnson, who can't afford the top rate attorney or top rate
All
guys,
right, AD.
we're here. No. But I'm getting back to your point. This is why, if you're involved in the PIN community, you have an understanding that a fractional CFO is available. Because
Yeah.
when I started my business, I didn't know that. Like, I didn't
Right.
know that I can go out here and get a fractional CEO to help me with some of these things that I had, right? Like, I'm looking at my books and I'm like, when you're in the logistics business, that margin is really small,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's based on how much you can keep, right? And for example, in one of my businesses, like I was renting vans like constantly, right? And I'm like, why am I renting vans, right? And how is that affecting my business quarter to quarter?
Mhm.
Like some quarters I had to because for example, at the end of the year, which is kind of peak season, and you got all this extra business coming, you had to have extra vehicles, right?
Right.
But if it's not peak season where I'm going to get extra revenue and I need these vans, then why do I have all these extra vans, right? But I didn't even know like where to look to find that information. I just kind of stumbled upon it where I feel like if I had a fractional CFO, they could have been talking about the money, the expense that I had in rentals over the first quarter, second quarter, going back to last year, Q2
Right.
of 2020.
Right.
Like we could have been planning for that and making sure it
Absolutely.
makes sense, right? So a fractional CFO is really, I don't know how you can do it without having one on hand.
Right. Yeah.
To organize, to prepare, to ask those tough questions. Am I making the right decisions for my business, expense wise? Like all those things are really, really necessary.
Yeah, because AD in like a logistics business or manufacturing, and you're in that tier 2, 2 million to 10 million a year, a bookkeeper is not sufficient.
Right.
That's not going to cut it.
Because all they're doing is giving you organizing information. Right. That's it. They're not helping you make no decisions.
They're not helping you make decisions. And then go and see your CPA at the end of the year. Hey, file my tax return. That's not sufficient either. That fractional CFO component for a small, mid-sized business is just really invaluable. It pays for itself.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got that point across, Rod.
I know, man. I'm all happy and stuff. Like, oh, I got that point across, right? Everybody need to know, get your fractional CFO, right?
Get you a CFO, right?
It's not as expensive as you think it is. Right?
It's not.
You just got to get the right one.
And kudos to you, Rick. I mean, like I said, we partner with you on a lot of that and try to bring a lot of clients your way on the fractional CFO, and build up that pipeline. But it's also, when you start looking at fractional CFOs, it's also a social impact that we do have because we still employ people for jobs, right? And they're helping another business, they're having another business, having another business when everybody's scaling and growing at the same time. So for us, it's never like, we're here for ourselves. No, it's added value to everybody. And it's a recycle of dollars too.
Exactly.
It's a recycle of dollars. So I don't mind putting it out there. That's just what we're doing. We're trying to do this where it helps everybody. It's not like it's a bad situation and nobody's winning. Everybody's winning if you get the proper tax, you get the proper fractional CFO to help you scale his or her business. That's just what it's about. It really is.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Right. It's competency and the right information.
Correct.
Yeah. And a lot of times we struggle as small business owners. We can't afford always the competent people. And then just a lot of times we lack the information. And that's one of the things I hopefully I bring to a client engagement. Experience, knowledge, information that's going to make your life easier.
Yeah, well, listen, man, this is PN Global News, so we're not bashful about what we say. I know AD know that. Rick, you've been on me forever. We're not afraid. But I tell every business, I don't care if it's minority-owned, woman-owned, government, LGBTQIA, it don't matter. Quit being afraid. Quit being afraid to tell somebody that you don't understand finance. And you have not, and I reemphasize, you have not filed your taxes.
Right.
It's okay. You didn't know. You really didn't know what to do. You don't know what to do sometimes. When you don't know, you don't know. You just don't know. Right.
That's correct.
You just know I got a bill, and IRS is knocking on my door. You know, that kind of stuff.
But it's not a moment of panic. You don't have to panic.
Yeah.
Find the right competent professional and allow that person to help you solve that issue so you can focus on your business.
Yeah.
And the reality is, right, and a lot of times people in business don't understand, this is just going to be a common, constant challenge. 1 year you're up, 1 year you've done well, you've made enough money to pay taxes. The next year you owe taxes and you may not even have the cash flow. This is the normal cycle for small businesses. You just have to slug your way through it. And the way you get through it is with the right professionals giving you truthful information. But it's nothing to panic over. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me ask a quick question.
I'm sorry, AD. Go ahead, bro.
No, a quick one. Yeah, because I've heard Rick say a few times, find the right people, right?
Correct.
And that was a big thing for me is who are the right people? Like it's easy when you have a resume like my man Rick that's that I can keep going on and on and on and on.
Right.
But if I'm a small business and I know my budget is not at that point where I can go out looking for the best of the best, what are at least some of the things I should look for? Let's say, again, I'm a small business. I haven't filed my taxes in 2 years. I'm looking at a tax bill. I already know that, right? What are some of the who am I actually looking for? Just a tax attorney? Am I looking for a tax consultant? Am I looking for a tax prep person? Like, what exactly am I looking for?
Okay. With a complex or a problem of certain severity, you're going to want a CPA, a licensed CPA such as myself, or you're going to want a tax attorney.
Okay.
To handle AD, IRS negotiations, and past due bills. Okay.
Okay.
A lot of times those resources can be found, social media everywhere now. Okay. But you can reach out to the AICPA. The AICPA for your area, for your locale in the United States, they're going to have quality professionals who are members of the AICPA in your area with a solid reputation. You can look them up, you can do your research, and they'll have clients that you can speak to for references. Okay. But even that, a lot of times, Rodney, a lot of small business owners and AD, what is the AICPA? Also, every state has a licensing board for public accountants.
Yeah.
Your Texas Society, TS, I forget the acronym, but Texas State Board of Public Accountants. Okay. There is a resource. You can go online, you can look up accountants, you can speak to people in your area and find resources and do like you do with an employee, interview 3 or 4 of them. Okay.
Yeah. No, Rick, we appreciate that. I'm gonna be straight to the point. Y'all need to join PN Community.
Yes, join PN.
PNCommunity.org. We will educate you on where you need to go. www.pncommunity.org. Right? Yeah. Join PN and join Rick's True Science firm because we know what he does.
Right.
We do. But we're not like we joke a lot, but you do need to be educated on all this and understand how to navigate that space, so you got to talk to people like Rick and his team and everything else. But you could, like Rick said, you can go anywhere and find information. Is it the right information? Are you going to get what you want? I don't know. I just know what we're doing here at PN Community. We're definitely trying to educate you on the process and how it works. Fractional CFO is definitely a more minimized way to go as opposed to paying for a big company or a big firm or even an attorney. It really is. So, and I'm not against attorneys by no means because we got attorneys here in PN as well. And everybody has a specific niche and specific things they want to do to help you scale, his or her business. So that's the truth. But Rick, man, I'm telling, AD, we always we be like, we want to do this 2-3 hours, right? We can't, but we definitely want to give shouts out to our sponsors, Snap out of Switzerland, Vincent and his group. So that's www.footsnap.com. And I soap sponsor out of Carolina, Burdock Naturals, which Rick, I told you about Burdock Naturals already. It's the best soap or anything I've ever used in my life, man.
Yeah.
I got to brag. You always said, Rodney, you still look the same. Why? Because of Burdock Naturals.
Oh, okay. All right.
Here we go, Rick. Here we go, man. Here we go.
All right. Well, Rodney, some of us are blessed with great genes, or it could be you work out every morning at 4:30. You know, maybe
one of the two,
man.
right, Rick?
One of the two.
One of the two.
I've been getting up to at 4:30 to go in that gym when I'm here in town, man. Still travel, but I got them little crack ribs right there, so I got to slow it down, AD.
Here you go. Here you
Oh,
go.
boy.
But hey, Burdock Naturals, man. But I mean, listen, man, Rick, this is so important, you know, and we thank you like 100%, you know, for coming on the show tonight with myself and Antonio to really talk about, you know, taxes and really not running from the IRS. That's the truth. So we thank you so much, man, for coming on tonight. And we're going to have a part 2 and a part 3 because I think we need to bring on some more people to talk about taxes and maybe even bring in some IRS people, Rick, because we talked about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
go ahead, Rick.
You know, AD, and one thing I want to make a suggestion. What you want to do is educate your pen partners that separation, that difference between a bookkeeper and that fractional CFO. A lot of times that makes a world of difference. Sometimes you're going to need them both. So that's just important. I want you to convey that message to all your partners and your companies in your network.
We will. And let me say this, and you said it before, you know, there's always social media and all these different places where we get information. The problem is we don't know if it's good information, one, and then we don't know how that information applies to us so that we get the best outcome.
Right.
That's why, again, another reason we're creating, pen community is because you know that if you come onto this platform and listen, ask the right questions, whatever you need, you're going to get the best for you, not just some information. That was my biggest thing is, as I'm navigating these waters and I know I need a CPA, right? And I'm hopping online and a million of them come up,
right.
Some around the corner, down the street, like a million of them come up, right? And you just don't know how to, because a lot of time you don't have hours and hours and hours, which it's that important. You should set aside time to interview and make sure you get the right one. But sometimes you just don't have that, So, Rod, we're always, hey, get into the pen community. Come on. That's another reason why, to make sure you get the best information.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Rick, a little bit to echo what AD is saying too. And I appreciate AD as a partner. I appreciate all our partners, T-Mac, we look at Michael Urban, a few other guys, and who got, strong mouthpieces, strong followers and stuff, right? Shaq is a member of our portal right now. He's in, but we want people to echo what we're trying to do because it's no ego here. It's really trying to educate people on the best thing for you, like AD said. But you look at where AD came from. Now you look at Rodney. Rodney tried to play ball for about 2 seconds. And it was cool for me, right?
Yeah, and I've seen you, so 2 seconds is generous.
Oh my God! I got hurt, dude. Stop playing.
Okay, all right.
You look at a person like Antonio, 16 seasons, in the NBA, right? And he was told, just like we all been told, we can't do certain things, right? It's like we've been told we don't understand finance, we don't understand taxes. You don't understand you can't play NBA ball, but 16 years later, he's here, right?
Right.
And he had to perfect his craft and understand how that works. And we chimed in about that, a little bit earlier today, though, all the people that said you could do something.
Yeah. And I think too, and to kind of put it in perspective, just as I was, practicing every day, and I had a trainer, I had a strength and conditioning guy, I had all these other things. It's the same thing in business. You got to have your fractional CFO. You got to have operations guy. That's a whole other segment. But I hired a COO, a fraction of COO, and once he got aboard and started ripping my company apart, I was like, oh my God, I am inefficient. I'm not using technology properly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hole in my legal documents. Like it was a mess, but it was the best thing that could have ever happened for me. And I think, it's like now I'm taking that same strategy, like Rick said, I got to build my team and I got to go through this process. There's no shortcuts, right? And then I think the other thing is I got to be prepared for either the money that I make or lose, right? Because taxes is going to come one way or another, right? So I think that's the biggest thing that, I'm taking away from this whole thing, and building my team is making sure that we got everything covered. We don't have nothing that we can't handle, at the end of the year when tax season comes.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. One other thing, and this is just something I throw out to business, small business owners. Look to build your own little personal board of directors. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Diversified set of friends, associates around your business who can just advise you. So like, hey, AD, if you had like a little personal board of directors, you would have come across maybe the right accounting firm or the right COO earlier. You have to seek information from people who have different experience than you to build the business you're trying to build. And that's something, and I think Penn is has an opportunity to do that for the companies you enroll. Give them that service as well.
Yeah, and we lead by example. We have a board as well. We've had to do that. Rick and you shared that with me years ago. So we've always kept a board and stuff like and taxes. And believe me, taxes affect everybody, whether you got a whole lot of money or a little bit of money.
Or a little bit of money. Yeah.
Everybody. We're talking to a lot of players, not calling nobody's name, but I don't care if it's NBA, NFL, maybe baseball, hockey, entertainment. Dude, they struggling.
Yeah.
When you don't know the taxes, and AD and I and Tracy and Mike, we've all talked, all the fellas, Dane, we've talked about this a zillion times over. When you don't know something, man, you don't know something because really, truthfully, and I'm saying this because we need a fractional CFO on our small businesses scaling, trying to grow. But when you do have a lot of money, sometimes you really don't understand anything of it. You just got people telling you, and you still not getting no knowledge, right? Right, Dave? We talk about that. You're still not getting no knowledge because you're just paying for it. You're hoping everything's right. But at the end of the year, and forgive me, but you look up, you lost $70 million.
Yeah. You pay for what you don't know, Rob.
Right.
You pay for what you don't know, right? Yeah. And sometimes you're paying in two different ways, right? I'm paying this accountant or the CPA to take care of my business, but I could be paying for it if they're not taking care of business.
Right. Yeah. So
you're gonna pay for that information that you don't know, man, and it's crazy. When I played, I filed it's like 13, 14 different returns. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When I got to Toronto, when I got to Toronto, because Rick, I don't know if this is right or not. I know when I played, I had to file in every state I played, right? And I don't know if they still do that today, but every state. And then when I started playing in Toronto, I had all this foreign tax credits, and that was a whole another deal I had to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. That's correct. Yeah.
That, so we can, again, we got to have part two because we didn't get into being audited, which I did, right?
Yeah. Hey, listen.
Audited.
Hey,
man, we should have started with that one, bro.
Hey, listen, we've had a lot of knockdown, drag out fights about getting educated, right? I got somebody for that. No, you don't. Because this is why you losing.
That's why you're losing. Yeah.
Right. But listen, man, we want everybody to definitely like us, share the information, subscribe to our channel. We definitely growing this thing worldwide, not just United States, international. You got a lot of international companies coming to the United States that are working here, and you need to partner with some of these international companies. So you're going to have to get it right because that's just the right thing to do. Just get educated, ask questions. Sometimes you don't know what to ask. Just come in here and just learn, and we will definitely try to educate you on what you need, where you need to go, how you need to do it, people you need to network with. And I always preach this: network. Closed mouth will not get fed. You got to network. And right now, technology, it's right in front of you. It's on your iPhone, it's on your Android, it's on your iOS pad, it's in social media, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. There's no excuses when we got access to this on 24/7. No excuses.
Yeah. And I think we're priding ourselves in building a platform that's going to benefit, our small businesses. We're definitely trying to push for people to be entrepreneurs, or at least understand it. I think for me, I was so upset that I waited so long to jump in to be an entrepreneur, because it taught me so much about business. And as a professional athlete, whether you know it or understand it, you are a small business. You're a business generating millions of dollars in income, and you have to kind of run your life as such. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely correct.
You have to do that. And we're not taught that from day one. And I think if we just start there, it gets guys to think about things a different way. And it's not enough to just go out and hire a team. This team has to be pouring back into you too. We don't want to hire them and say, oh, just go take care of my taxes. No. We want to hire the right people to come back and educate us, so we understand, as we're out here making decisions, this is how it affects you from a tax perspective. Buying this house, this summer home, this car, this investing in this real estate or this private equity, all that affects your taxes. So your CPA, your tax person, your fractional if I would have known as a professional athlete, I'd have had me a fractional CFO. Day one, helping me make these decisions. Because from that point, it's not my financial advisor that's just kind of telling me, oh, you need to create a budget, and oh, don't spend that money here, and oh, don't do this and don't do that, right? Because they tell you all that crap, and then you got mama in your ear, you got your wife in your ear, you got your kid, you got all these things in your ear, and there's nobody helping you make those decisions.
Man.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Hey, y'all already know we got part 2 coming for real, Rick.
We got to, right? Because we didn't get into a lot of stuff.
AD, when that first signing bonus, when that contract comes through, that first signing bonus, that's when you need your fractional CFO, because you got to know right then and there how to keep that $20 million signing bonus, $50 million. What the guys are getting today is unreal.
Oh man.
Yeah. And we're talking about this. That's why we got part 2. And we also looking at the whole NIL space. But right now, I know today, here, Rick, with you and my partner AD, we're really focused on the small businesses today. We're gonna have part 2 and probably part 3. I'm quite sure. I know we will. But there's a lot we didn't cover. But again, your taxes is so important to you as a small business or medium-sized business, or even a startup business. It's just like being an athlete, it's like a start. You're starting something, you're perfecting something, you scale something. So you got to put a little something away just to have somebody by your side to help you understand what these things mean. Or you join a community like us, or you join another community just to understand, how do I set up my business properly? What processes do I really need to make sure I don't fail? I don't really believe, and we don't have this conversation many times before. I know we got to go to the show, but I don't believe you got to fail. Not if we've seen everybody else fail. If you've seen everybody else fail, you don't have to go down that same path. Just get it right. You really don't. And I think that was me and Torrey Hunter. Me and Torrey had a conversation like, no, you got to fail before you can make it. Hell no. No, you don't. But anyway, man, look, Rick, thank you so much, man, again, for coming on the show with us at PN Global News. My partner, AD, myself, Rodney Woods, Rick Trusant, the tax professional. He going to stop y'all from running from that IRS for sure.
That's right. That's right.
Man,
so let's join us. Sorry, Rick. I'm sorry, AD.
No, it's crazy how Rick said he is an engineer. So whether he want to say it or not, he's still an engineer.
I'm still an engineer. That's right.
Engineering our finances, my brother.
Right,
We
right,
appreciate
right.
it.
That's correct. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Join us every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. East Coast Time, and on AD's time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time.
Pacific time. All right.
Left coast. We're the left coast out here. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, AD representing West Coast today, y'all. Hey, listen, thank y'all so much, man. This is always a pleasure, Rick. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And we talk to you a lot, but man, we don't take this lightly. This is truly something that can change a lot of people's lives. So, to our viewing audience and our listening public, you guys stay safe, especially those in the bad weather places. Stay safe, prayed up. We're wishing all the best. That no harm comes to you or your families. All right. See
Take
you
care.
guys next Wednesday. Ken Glover News. Peace.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, Rick.
Thank you.
Okay, brother. All right.